Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight we're going to be doing a reading for Aries. If Aries is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so Aries, tonight we have the Hermit card, which kind of goes along with the vibe of the readings that we've been having for you lately. Feeling a little bit like you want to do your own thing recently. And kind of just be in your own space, be in your own world. And, to me, that makes sense. Absolutely. I'm right there with you. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to take a look here and see what these tea leaves have to say. So immediately I'm seeing we have, it looks like a young deer right here, the face of a deer. And you can see right here the eyes. This would be the nose down here, kind of, you could imagine the long snoot of the thing, and maybe like a little ear or kind of a budding antler, and kind of just I don't know, it looks like it's a little bit sad. It almost kind of looks like it has a few tears there, okay? But if you look with these tears, it looks like we have a person sitting down here. It reminds me of a hieroglyph, really, this seated position. Arm up, catching that tear, okay? Right by the feet, it looks like we have a small bird. So we have a messenger as well. What this reads for me as, you might think, oh, okay, there's a crying deer and there's a person catching those tears. Well, the deer represents a very important and sacred moment in our life. I feel like the deer, in my own thinking, it appears, and now I'm not talking about like a deer in your backyard, although those are beautiful as well. This is a spiritual animal, a spirit guide, a kind of otherworldly intelligence or interior manifestation. And to see it in this state of kind of weeping, it leads me to believe that, yeah, you're doing some really deep and hard spiritual work. It is something that I don't know if anybody can get through some of the processing and integration that self-work requires without having moments where, yeah, we feel a little bit misty, or maybe even, if you're like me, crying, sobbing, like ugly crying, never cute crying, crying like nobody's watching, right? And so I can imagine recently there have been maybe some moments where you are coming to really some realizations, an awakening or two, and starting to kind of realize that maybe some of the things that have gone on in your life, or some of the things that you've been feeling, you've experienced, you have been witness to, whatever it is, that maybe it's something at the time it didn't seem so profoundly traumatic or difficult, or, this thing happened, it really didn't affect my life, or, anything like that, and then I just kept it moving and, didn't think too much about it. But it's odd because often as we get older, we have more experience, we start to kind of see things as, like a bigger picture, right? It's not always just about the now. We're looking at the larger scope here. And yeah, it depends on kind of how we were raised and what we've been through. Sometimes we don't identify behaviors and incidences and situations as being painful or negative until we can kind of get some perspective. And sometimes that takes years. It takes years. And yeah, and then you get into these moments in your life where you're having this spiritual, evolution, self-evolution, right? And growing and healing and seeing things with a different clarity, with different eyes. And, that can be really difficult. It can it can be very devastating, but it can also be very freeing, right? And that's the thing. I am somebody who is a survivor of various kinds of trauma and abuse. And I've been in a lot of therapy, and I've done a lot of, magical spiritual work and all these kinds of things. And yet, there are plenty of days where, things that I feel like I've already worked on this. It should be fine, right? Yeah. It sometimes really does hurt as bad as the first time, right? Sometimes that stuff, it's like you wake up and it's in the room with you, And so I understand how hard this could be. But I also know that it is necessary for really kind of clearing out these energetic blockages of our life. Really looking at our conditioning, looking at how we cope, what are our defense mechanisms, what are, something I read recently that I really keep thinking about a lot, right? And this was from, his name, it's, and I don't know how to say it, but his last name's Goddard, right? And it's Neville or Neville. I know I've heard the name, but it's Neville, okay? And he wrote all these different, books in the early 1900s, right? The mid-century, really. And really interesting stuff. Just go check them out. I don't really exactly know. I know that there is kind of an angle towards, kind of a Christian paradigm, but very interesting work. I mean, if you're into law of attraction or manifesting or, anything like this, go check this dude out. But he said in one of his books, he was talking about kind of recoding our minds, our brains, our perceptions, and talking about when something happens, working towards having a measured response versus a reaction. And what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? So a measured or just a response in general, this is something that we have thought about, that is intentional. Right? A reaction is more of like something to protect ourselves, or it is kind of muscle memory, right? It happens. We do it. Somebody, tries to hit you and you're going to probably recoil or, defend yourself, right? That's a reaction. Now a response is different, right? A response is taking a beat and then deciding, okay, what am I going to do here? What am I going to say here? And so as I'm looking at this, it's making me really feel like there is this opportunity through this very emotional work that you are doing to begin to kind of change some of those things, those behaviors, those reactions, that feeling that comes up, especially, if you are somebody who has ever felt like somebody took your power away or controlled you, right? Pushed you around, tried to run your life or, whatever, something along the lines of this, right? And we can easily go into a state of anger or feeling very frustrated or even kind of shutting down, right? Because the world is kind of, deciding for us, or people around us are deciding for us. But when this opportunity comes about where we can start to kind of reprogram some of those responses, that's when we start to really take back our power, right? That's where we start to have that beautiful, thoughtful response. And I say beautiful because you have taken back the power to even have that moment to think about, how am I going to react to this? No, not react. How am I going to respond to this? Right? So I feel like this is a huge spiritual moment for you. Now, we also have this person who is sitting here and collecting those tears, and the bird right beside them. And you know what this tells me is you have a story to tell. You have something to share with the world. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Lenore, I'm not a writer, or I'm not an artist, or, I don't know. I don't have like a platform or an account on, YouTube or one of the other ones where I can get on there and just kind of, share my story. Well, it's all at your fingertips, right? And maybe this is the time. Maybe this is that moment where you begin to start collecting your story. You start to form it into something that you can share with other people. To share your testimony, to share your experience, to share what life has been like. What has it been like to go through things and not succumb to them? What has it been like for you pulling yourself through these tower moments that I know that you've had throughout your life? We all have. Some of us more than others. And I suspect for you, maybe you've had a few more than most people, right? And I do. I feel like this is going to end up being one of the great callings of your life, is sharing your truth, sharing your story. So it's something to think about, anyhow. Okay, so we have the name Bob, B-O-B, or it could be 606, 606. And I'm trying to see, what are you? We have a little bow. We have birds coming. And we have this, it looks like a dog. It looks like, just like a scrappy dog in my mind. Like, is this a goat or a dog? Here's an eye, and where is it? The other eye would be right here, and the nose is kind of right here, mouth open, like panting hard, ears right here. We have the bow up here. We have the birds right here. And we have a person sitting here. It looks like if you could imagine somebody wearing a large dress or some kind of blanket on their lap or something. They have their body right here, torso, head, and lap right here. Something sitting in their lap. I almost think of a book. Immediately I was thinking of Little Women, for when Joe's always kind of sitting around by the trees and stuff reading. And yeah, so I feel like, I almost feel like you have some, maybe for the holidays coming up, we also have a house right here. And we have a person walking towards the house. So this, to me, tells me, you can see the little door of the house there. And here's a person. Let me get up closer. right here. Here's the head, here's the body, and the legs down here walking towards this house. So I feel like, yeah, definitely something where you're all coming together, or you're going to go see this person, or they're going to come see you, and there's some kind of gift, you know, and this is, the holidays are all kinds of holidays coming up. Take your pick. There's lots of them. So something to do with whatever holidays that you partake in or celebrate. It is different for each of us. And they have a dog. I don't think this is your dog. I feel like this is their dog. And I almost feel like it's this dog, it drives everybody crazy. It's not a nice dog. But they are unwilling to go anywhere without the dog. Like, they take it everywhere. And everybody's kind of like, I don't want to be around the dog or whatever. And I don't know. I wonder if it gives you some anxiety, if you are maybe the one that like sticks up for them, you know, it's like your, you know, sister's little like therapy dog or whatever, and it's loud and yippy and you know, will like not bite anybody, right? But you know, will nip at people. But you know your sister's not going to come if she doesn't have her dog, and you know, this kind of thing. We've all had situations, maybe not with dogs, might be something else, but you know, we've all had guests or been a part of a family thing where you know, some considerations had to be made. And I feel like you probably are kind of more of the like trying to advocate for the, you know, I don't like the dog either, but here we are. We want her to come, and so the dog has to come as well. This kind of feeling, okay? So I see you really kind of like playing a mediator role here. But I feel like there is just such a sense of, as we get deeper into the winter or the summer, depending on where you're at, right? There seems to be like a calm that really just comes over your household, over you. And I feel like, you know, it ends up being, I keep thinking it's like, oh, it's going to be so productive. But I don't think it's about like being productive, like, oh, here I have all this to show for it, or I've made all this money here. You know, you can see I've been working real hard. You know, not exactly that, but it's like you're getting somewhere with how you want to experience life. And it's so intangible. There's no way to like prove what is working exactly, or how did I end up here at this place where I'm feeling pretty good after, you know, you have been, obviously something clicked and you started doing this interior work, this spiritual path that you have really devoted yourself to. And so I feel like, you know, ultimately, is it like the big fix? Is everything totally perfect for the rest of time? I don't think so. I mean, if you figure that out, let me know. My email is in the description of the video if you have some pointers for me. But I think ultimately it's just like finding yourself in a place where you feel like you can breathe. And being a smidge, like a little sprinkle of, you know, of feeling pretty proud of yourself because you've stayed the course and you have prioritized your well-being. You've prioritized your healing and you've been brave. Yeah, it is brave. It is very brave to take the time and put in the effort when you know it's going to be so hard. You know, it's not easy, but you're doing it. And it ultimately not only makes your life better in the long run, maybe in those first stages or, you know, even all through it can be very difficult. I'm thinking of when a couple years ago I did CBT, which is a kind of therapy for people that have things like PTSD. And I myself have CPTSD. So I took I did this therapy for 6 months. 6 months. And it was, it was so hard. And my daughter was really young, but I felt like I need to start working on these particular things that I worked on during that period of CBT. And when it was happening, it felt, I don't know. I didn't think I was ever going to be strong enough to look at some of the stuff that happened in my childhood. But I did it. It wasn't easy. But you know what? I felt like I could speak for the first time in a long time. And actually, I believe that I wouldn't be able to do readings publicly if I had not taken that time for myself. So I'm looking at this and I feel like it's like you're investing in your being as like a spiritual light body, right? You are investing in healing that radiance and not allowing these earthly matters, these, you know, sometimes, just unthinkable things that we go through. Not allowing that to be the thing to tie you to that misery. And we all know what that means. We've all carried these heartbreaks and these traumas and, you know, terrifying things and loss and grief. We all have our things. Absolutely. You know, and it's all relative. It's all relative. There's no suffering Olympics, right? That's not a thing, thankfully. But I see you really, really doing what you need to do and honoring yourself in that way. And that is magnificent in my book. That is absolutely. So let's go ahead. We're going to see here we have, it looks like the letter M. We have a person holding a bird, receiving a message, and we have a person who's waving. A little heart right here as well. You can see. Very little. But this person over here is waving, and we have this person over here with the bird and the message. So to me, and look at this. Down here we have a little bird as well. Oh, maybe it's not gonna, kind of fell over, but we have a little, it reminded me of a goose a little bit, or like a duck flying. So I almost feel like this is somebody you grew up with. It feels like they're showing themselves as being a young boy. And with a sailboat, like a little toy sailboat, or some kind of, like a little boat of some kind, but they keep showing that they really loved boats or boating or maybe the ocean. But I feel like they did pass away, but not when they were young. Like they were older. But I think you've lost contact, or you maybe lived near each other and you kind of fell into that. A lot of us, right? We fall into this thing where we feel like we're keeping up with people, family or people we grew up with, maybe from your hometown or college or, whatever. And we know what's going on pretty much with them and whatever, but It's because we see it on social media. We don't actually talk to the people. We have very little, you know, might like something or leave a comment once every couple of years or whatever. So it feels like you're in touch, but you're really kind of not, right? Because you haven't really had a conversation in a decade or more. But I think that you kind of like were in each other's orbits, but not really directly connected in that way. And I think, yeah, they passed away. And I think that you maybe lamented this a little bit. Like, I should have, you know, reached out or, you know, whatever, talked to them before things, you know, got bad. And I wonder if this was a health issue, because it seems like it was something that was happening for a while and then they were gone. But I do feel like there was a special connection, and I feel like this person is coming through to confirm, kind of like, yeah, we are in some way like soul bound. Now, it might not be like this is like your soulmate, right? It wasn't like this is my spouse for eternity. No, I feel like this is though somebody who kind of exists in, if we think of like, the people that we reincarnate with, or we kind of, our souls are kind of bound together closely. You know, like a team or a classroom full of people, right? And so we kind of travel, anyways, I believe so. We travel in these groupings of people, and that's kind of our tribe, right? And we manifest in different ways and as different things, and you know, in different archetypes, depending on what our work is and so on. I don't know if that's true, but it's a nice story, right? And I feel like, yeah, sometimes I've met people that feel like home. Not like I'm in love with them and they feel cozy and I want to, you know, that's a particular, like my husband, that's my home, that he is my, when I see his face, when I, you know, wake up in the morning and he smiles that's home, right? But then there are other people that it's like they come from where you come from, right? We're made of the same star stuff. There's just something, if the universe is infinitely fractal, our two fractal pieces are right by each other, right? And so I feel like, you know, you might not know why, you might not think about this person very often or at all really, but when you do, it feels like returning home. And I feel like they're giving you signs and you are feeling them. You have been thinking about them a little bit, or you will be now because I brought them up. But yeah, it feels like a confirmation that there is that connection even still. Okay, let's do our lucky numbers real quick. Oh, whoo, that went real far. 62, number 62, 53, 62, 53. Where's it gonna land? Oh, 5 and 5. All right. Okay, and then we're gonna end with the Mary Magdalene Oracle cards here. And I'll just flip through. I'll stop where it feels right. The egg. Everything comes from within. Everything comes from within. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, Aries, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I love you because I do. And I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. If you would be so kind as to like the video, it helps the channel. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. Also, if you want to leave a comment, yeah, definitely do that. I Love hearing from everybody. I read all of the comments and I appreciate them. All right. I think that's it. Okay. Good night. Good night. Good night. I love you. I love you. I love you. We'll talk in just a few days.